Okay, so yesterday we have gone through BTC. Yes, a quick recap. BTC was here about the yellow when we opened a call, because then I found a, a setup where BTC could lose its gain or basically correct, and it did happen. The yellow level was added yesterday when I saw some weakness and a strange move, and after that it made a big fall. Then the S6 was shared. It supported, it supported for a few hours. Meanwhile alts, they went up. When I um, closed my day, alts were doing well, but BTC wasn't bouncing. It was kind of very range bound, narrow range around S6. So basically S6, see, each support is a defense line. Okay, I'm also going to share my thought process with regards to my trade, because I shared, so it's better to also share what was my planning behind my trades. I shared, but what was my thought process. So sometimes those who are new probably can take this as a case study, not as an advice, but case study, that there are many approaches. There is no one successful approach. Okay, there can be multiple approaches, and I share many ideas, and I think everybody should try out different things and eventually um, find an approach which suits your goals and your nature as well, because individuals nature also matter. Not everybody is conservative, not everybody is aggressive. Everybody has different style and achievement. There are some people who said, I'm in crypto, I don't mind losing here. So there are people who said, I'm very passive, I have my day job, but I believe in longer term view and all. And there are day traders, and so we have different types of traders in terms of their strategies and goals. So no approach is there cannot be one approach or solution. The solution can be based on your goal and expectations, right? So but we have so many different approaches, which I'm sure you will be able to find out which one is the best way. I'm going to share what I was thinking. So just a quick recap on that part. We'll come back to BTC. So we called out potential top. When it was started, nobody knew that it is likely to be this case, like this kind of a deeper drawdown. It's always a possibility. And but we tracked, and it kept breaking different supports, and we were never satisfied with the bounce, and until it hits the 33k, where I said I entered. So of course there was a long wait time for me to get in. I'm talking about myself, and as I said, you may take this as a case study. So I was not participating except few short-term trades, but what I call is long-term is where I buy and I don't have to see every day. That's what that is long-term. Long-term is not based on time. Long-term means I don't have to monitor each and every day. I would check the health, and if the health is good, I'll continue. So long term is always about health in my dictionary. Short term is always specific time, specific percentage gain. For example, what you see in the ad hoc channel is all short term, very specific target or resistance level, 10%, 15%, whatever. So it's a kind of a short term plan where what you enter and then exit at a certain level. Long term, as I said, long term, the term is nothing to do with time or calendar in my dictionary. It is to do with the health of an asset that I hold. It's like our body. If some I often ask this question, nobody knows assume that we don't know the average age of human. Assume we find an alien, or somehow we don't recognize what is our average age. So how would you so if someone asks, okay, what do you think how long you will live? Of course you don't know in that case. But what you do know that how healthy you are. So if I'm healthy today, the probability of me being healthy tomorrow is very high, and it's always about probability. However, the probability of accuracy reduces if I had to project for next 1 week or 1 month or 1 year or 1 decade. So as we go further in future, the accuracy diminishes, and that's true with TA also, any kind of forecasting system, in my opinion. The accuracy is highest when it is near term. So, in terms of timeline, so my long term strategy is never based on time. It is always based on the health. If whatever I bought, if it is healthy, in my definition, it's making progress, I'll keep it. Moment I see weakness or potential downside risk, I'll reduce. I don't exit, I reduce in multiple stages. Sometime, so if I enter something and if I had to exit in a very short gain, then I may not do incremental, but otherwise the exit could be incremental. So basically long term is for me like is based on health, and I reduced and exited my longer term position near top when it was coming down, and then re-entered here. Now when I re-entered, of course my plan is to add as it moves up. um, so what I so first buy was near here, second buy was when it touched S6. My game plan was to basically add at S6, and so I added, but it broke the S6 and I had to execute my risk plan, which is about getting out. Now I could have reduced, but I decided to get out. So sometimes it's a trader's choice whether you want to reduce. Generally I say reduce, but sometimes I get out fully. So and it's not always the same. When I have lot of gain, I reduce in increments. But when I have gain, but if you look at it, if I entered here and then it is always it's here, and if I loaded here, then it doesn't make sense to reduce in increments in this situation, because then I'll lose my profit. So it's a choice. Somebody might think that I'm okay to lose my profit as long as my principal amount is intact. I'm not worried. So, and I do think that way as well. But sometimes I do think that let me preserve my profit. So it's based on situation. So there are both options are valid. As I said, it depends on your personal goal, whether you want to preserve your profit or you want to preserve your principal amount. If somebody is risking the principal amount, then it's a bad practice, in my opinion. Okay, you cannot let your principal amount eaten away. And the good practice is, this thing happened because they are aggressive in buying. So when I bought, I didn't put everything, and then I added here second buy, and my plan is to add third buy here when it breaks above 52k level, and then I will not look back if if BTC continue going up. So that's long term, as I said, because then I would have bought here, and then go up. Now since it's doing something different, the strategy has to be tuned where I bought here, but then it was not able to break above, I mean bounce. It may, who knows, I mean, but I don't care, I had to go with my plan. So let's say I, because if this is broken, it might continue going down. But let's say on a positive side, maybe this is just today's downside move, maybe it goes up. So what choice I have? I'm not going to jump in and enter here. I want to re-enter here as from a strategy. Now you might think this is an expensive, yeah, means I would lose a profit and buying expensive, but that's a choice. So you if you are exiting here, if I exited here, I can re-enter here, but then it can be a spike or a narrow range movement. It will not give me confidence. What I want is, I don't want to do frequent in and out. So as an individual trader, I can enter here, which is my exit level, but I'm not going to. I'm going to re-enter here again. Now, in a big game, in a longer term point of view, this is not a big deal. Okay, see, I book my profit. Okay, and if I have to buy a little expensive, I don't mind, because if it breaks above this yellow level, then the probability of hitting this is high, and then I'll be back on track. So it's a fine balance. How long you want to hold, how much you want to reduce, is very personal. And that's why somebody asked about stop loss, and I always say that stop loss has to be based on your personal goal. I can provide the support, but supports are not necessarily stop loss, as many people mix up two things. Supports where you expect asset to react, and there can be multiple supports, and especially in crypto, because the price movement is too much, it might hit one, break another support, then goes for another, and so on. And then when it might bounce, and then in a very short time it could recover all this previous supports and go up, because it's a crazy world. I mean, that's how it is. So that's why I share that you may go with multiple supports, I mean multiple stop losses. And sometime, if your goal is to preserve your profit, then you may say, I'll accept whatever happens. So you cannot regret about your decision. That's number one thing. So I am out. Now if it goes up, it bounces, okay, I cannot regret myself that I should have stayed, I should not have gotten out, because you cannot play both the sides. You have to be decisive, and you need to know what are the pros and cons as a trader. I have taken a side where I bought here, I entered here, I didn't want to lose on my second trade, so it's no profit no loss. And for first one, whatever gain I got, I secured it. For me, that life cycle of that trade is over. Now if I enter here in my strategy, I cannot think that I should have I should have stayed. I would think this is my start. You know what I'm saying? This is my baseline, and again I will have 3-point entry. That this is my first entry, this is my second entry, and maybe somewhere here my third entry. Likewise, I had my first entry, second entry, my plan was to enter third here. Now what happened, that your level changed, the entry level changed. So now this is my first level, second level, and a third level. That's the only difference. So I secured my profit. Now anything that I'll do in future will be a fresh start. So you cannot bring what you have done in past, because it's like not accepting what you planned and just flipping your sides. So there is no place for regret, in my opinion. Whatever you do with your conscious mind. The decision or planning should be like with all the pros and cons in mind, and then you decide and stick to the plan. I think that's the key. Now if it bounces, I have to stick to my plan. Those who move the stop losses, are actually breaking the law, so to speak, of trading. Some people do that. Once you decide your stop loss, you're not supposed to change it when the situation comes, because you decide stop loss before situation or that kind of a fall or risk occurs. So your stop loss or strategy of entry exit must be on paper, and you cannot change it. It has to be a rule. So my in this current situation, my plan is to re-enter here. This is a rule. I must not break it. Okay. And that is discipline. Without discipline you cannot be a good trader, in my opinion. Otherwise you're always going to be like some, like, I mean, it's going to be chaotic, in my opinion, and impulsive. The trading has to be well planned, thoroughly planned, and you have to just stick to the plan no matter what. Okay. But if you think about all the pros and cons, so there is no place for regret in trading. Okay. Whether you earn or you lose, it doesn't matter. You have to accept the consequences, right, and then move on. And another thing, you have to develop ability to leave behind the past. Okay. Your past should not, both the wins and losses. So I talked about the loss, the regret part, but even the wins, if you won, you have to leave behind that win behind. And when you start new, right, you have to think as a fresh start. So anything that you achieved, anything that you lost, it should not be affected. I mean, it should not affect your present planning. Okay. Because you won a big one, I mean, in a big way, it should not affect your planning. You have to think that this is my day one of trading. Whenever you sell everything and start after losing or after winning, consider this is my day one of my trading, and that's my approach. Okay. So if I'm out, I'm right now, let's say spectator, I'm right now on call. If I see some small short term, I might take it. But what I explain is about the long term strategy. And I believe in two strategies, a long term, as I said, where I would exit based on health, not based on time. And but the short term is very specific, where you go for specific resistance, that this is my target, I'm going to sell for that target. So it's very specific to the price. Again, there is no time dimension. Okay. Time dimension is extremely hard to achieve. So either you go with a longer term from a health point of view, right, that is swing trading. Swing trading is what? Swing, when you do swing trading, it is never about specific target. Though people say about 100k, 200k, whatever number on for BTC, swing trading is never about a specific target. Swing trading is always about the finding the overbought condition and start reducing from that position or level. And similarly, oversold position or price, you have to find out and start building your position. So when you do swing trading, it's always about finding overbought and oversold condition, which you would not know. But what you have to do, that every other day or every week, depends on how frequently you are monitoring, like your health check. Every year you go for health check to make sure you're healthy, right? That's health check. If your lab report, everything looks good, you're saying, okay, I'm fine. You don't have to worry about other. If your health report is fine, yeah, you're fine. If your health report shows something, you have to take about like precautions, whatever, based on the report and so on. So when you have a check in swing trading, when you have a checkpoint, your focus is just, is it healthy or not? If healthy, I'm good. So it's never about price target either. Okay. Anyway, when you do swing trading, and that's what I do for long term. And the short term is always about resistance to resistance. Okay. I mean, very specific price level. So this is quick clarification on the trading strategies I believe in. Okay. This is not something I planned. All this, I'm just, it's totally spontaneous, whatever coming into my mind right now. I'm sharing with you. Maybe I'll end this session recording with this, because this can be a logical conclusion on trading strategy. It can be a separate topic, right? I think so. Let me, yeah. So I think that I covered both what is long term for me, what is short term for me, long term um, and short term, and I think I covered everything with a use case, a recent use case, and some principles that you must have, the rules that you must have as a trader, and so on. So that should cover essential part of the trading strategy. There are many topics which we can think about, depends how much you are interested. But I'll end this session here, recording.